Good morning, Carl's Conversations. Good morning, YouTube. Good morning, Facebook. Welcome back to another edition of Carl's Conversations. This is a very, very special one. I am so happy and so proud to be joined by these two gentlemen who are just giants in the world of ministry. They are giants in the world of community service. You may not know them yet, but by the time we finish this episode, you will know them pretty well. I'm joined by none other than Pastor Yancy McPherson and Elder Ivan Coates. We are all members of a group called Enough. These two brothers are board members. I myself am an initiative leader. Enough, basically, if I put it in layman's terms, was a group that was formed this year, 2020, as we looked at all of the brutalization of Black Americans at the hands of law enforcement. There were a group of us here in Northern Virginia who were of like mind, who just had enough. And not that were formed to come against law enforcement, not at all. We were formed to come against injustice, inequality everywhere. So when it comes to injustice and inequality, especially as it pertains to race, we've had enough. And these gentlemen, by the time we have finished talking today, you'll know all about it. And so we have formed many initiatives in the group, and we have very diverse tentacles for which we're working to try to bring about positive change. And our goal is to develop very positive relationships with local law enforcement, local politicians, local community help groups, local ministries, so that we will be a voice, a strong arm, and also a cooperative member of positive change in the community, in the state. And eventually we will infect the nation, infect and effect the nation. So we're very thankful. Like I said, these brothers are very busy. We had to do some juggling to get our schedules together to come to you this morning, but we're here. So I thank God for Pastor Yancy McPherson and Elder Ivan Coates. Good morning, brothers. Welcome.
Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you for having us.
All right. My wife, my number one fan, she's always the first one to greet us. She says good morning also. So the main reason why we brought these two gentlemen on today is because Enough is expanding. We started here in Northern Virginia, mostly the Stafford County area, Spotsylvania, and Fredericksburg. But Pastor Yancy is taking Enough to South Carolina. He is based out of Columbia, but I believe he's going to be handling the whole state of South Carolina until he crowns someone else to take on other parts. And Elder Ivan here is going to be taking Enough to St. Louis. And we are, man, we're so happy and so proud. And we want to give these brothers a chance to speak to you and speak to those who are following them, who may have interest. I do believe that we have interest already in these places, and we want to give them a platform to talk about it. So, gentlemen, what say you?
Hey, Carl, again, thank you for the opportunity and the time to just tolerate what goes on inside this head here. But when I think about Enough, what I think about is the biblical truths of the Bible that talks about love conquering and covering a multitude of sin. Look, we're going to have people who disagree with us for various reasons, but I believe that if we can come to a common thread on what equality should look like and live it out, I believe that we can start experiencing the vast replication of equality throughout, not just in South Carolina, but everywhere. You know, when we look at what's going on in South Carolina, there's no need for me to go back and repeat the history that has been so ingrained and documented about South Carolina. But I do believe that in the sunny state of South Carolina, you know, the place of smiling faces and beautiful places, I believe that the true beauty of who we are, man, can be found in us loving one another, serving one another, and bringing that equality, not just in person, but equality in presence on our jobs, in our wages, in our businesses, and all that we do. We can bring equality and make it a true first initiative in all that we do. We can experience the full intent of what Enough is really about.
You're on mute, brother.
Yeah, that would be nice if the host comes off mute. Thank you so much. How about you, Brother Ivan?
Well, you know, I'm just excited to bring here to this region. If you're in St. Louis, you know the struggles and the things that we're going through in this region, in the city, in the counties, the surrounding counties, in the bi-state area over there in East Illinois, the surrounding areas. You know, just the crime is escalating. Certain issues are escalating, and as our mantra is enough. And if we don't take a current stand and do something and to advocate for ourselves, then we're going to miss out on this wonderful opportunity to create change, not only for us but for our future generations. That's where I see enough growing, is being an impact for our future generations to come, letting them know that we saw that enough was enough, so that you guys don't have to go through what we're going through. So we want to help establish that change here. We want to help bring that change here, so that the people growing up, so that kids growing up, that they don't have to fight the fight that we're fighting. You know, they can continue on and go beyond and better than what we are previously doing. So I'm happy about this. I'm happy about our mission, our vision. I'm happy to bring it to St. Louis. And I'm just, you know, we're here today, one, to talk about it so people can see and bring the interest in, because this is not just another hashtag. It's not just another group, but it's a group about action, about going out and putting in work. And we're here to put in that work.
Amen, brother. Let me ask you guys this. Of course, down there in Columbia, South Carolina, and down in St. Louis, out west in St. Louis, there are so many organizations that are already doing what we're doing. And I'm wondering, what was it about our group enough that made you say, I'm not going to plug into a group that's already in my area. I want some of that, and I want to bring that to where I am. What was it about enough that made you want to do that? I asked you to go first, Yancy.
I think what really made enough the choice for me is that we're not bound by any type of political posturing, if you will. We're not bound by contracts and dollars that may say or will attempt to gag you in certain areas. You just have some down home folks who just wants equality, who just wants what's right, and have absolutely the fear of God. You know, it's not about religion. So let's go ahead and squash that right now. It's not about, you know, who makes the most money. It's not about what job you have or what it's about. It's about neighborhoods. It's about community. It's about love. It's about bringing that quelling spirit over anything that would separate us. So enough embodies that. So who wouldn't want to be a part of something where you can be an equal voice? You can also be an equal-handed work. That's what it was my decision in choosing enough.
Amen. How about you, Brother Ivan?
Well, when I was presented with the mission and the vision, that's what I fell in love with. The vision is to advocate, collaborate, and transform. And the acronym for that is ACT. You know, they're really about action, taking global action, and not just posturing for social media, posturing to just to add another title behind their name. You know, although I have a title behind my name, it's not just that hashtag enough STL, but it's to know that when I see that, they're doing something. I know that they're actually working, they're actually doing something. They're out there in the communities talking, working, helping somebody. So seeing that and understanding that really drew me to them, and helped me make an easy decision to join enough.
That is awesome. I felt the same way. And plus, I know Gary Holland. All of us know Gary Holland, who was kind of like, I would say, the mastermind behind this and many other things. And as we all would agree, if you spend any amount of time with Gary Holland, you will most likely find yourselves involved in a dozen or more initiatives, actions, organizations, projects. He is truly a man of the people. We call him the unofficial mayor.
Oh yeah.
What drew me were the several different initiatives, I mean, you can say, you can read your mission statement and all that, and that can sound really good. But I'm the type of person, I want to know, but what are you doing? How are we going to affect change? And I know, Brother Ivan, you have this information in front of you. But when you look at our initiatives, you know, civic engagement, you know, political engagement, criminal justice, economic empowerment, educating our youth, We have one now called Mind, Body, and Soul, which is the newest initiative, and that is just flourishing. In other words, we're trying to touch the areas where we know that our Black American brothers and sisters have been kind of, number one, kicked down in, and maybe we're not doing so well. And the education that comes forth for anybody who will go to the Facebook and go look at the Enough page and see what's going on. It has been amazing in the short amount of time, these few months, the things that we have done. That was what drew me in and really made me want to work. And then all the effort that was put in to give education on each initiative. That was very impressive to me. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Ivan?
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, the initiatives were great. Voter literacy was one of them as well that we have, and we really went out, for that one. I know there in Virginia, they had meals at the polls. Enough was a part of that organization where when the people came to the polls, they had food trucks and things there with them. So, I know a lot. Enough started in Virginia, and there's a lot of the initiatives. They're there in Virginia, and that's why we're here, because we need help here in St. Louis, help in South Carolina, getting this on the ground, because Yancy and myself, we just can't do it alone. So we can't handle every initiative on our own in economic empowerment, civic involvement, voter literacy, mind, body, and soul. We're only one person, and we understand being a part of this group, and why we joined this group is that we need the multitude to help reach the masses. So we need those few good workers to come in and to help us with these initiatives. And we'll probably talk about them some more later on, but with each initiative, so that we can go out into communities and really be an impact in our towns.
Amen. Amen. In that same vein, it's just so important. I believe one of the initiatives that I really have come to enjoy is that economic empowerment piece. Is we know that when it comes to financial status, it seems that people hear us more when you have a financial status, and not in the form of just who's the wealthiest, but who's formed together to create and to move and to make a financial statement, if you will. And the one thing, and I always have to refer to what I believe in, biblical truths. The Bible tells us, to whom much is given, much is required. But when you place resources in the hands of a man or a woman who don't mind sharing, who don't mind building, who don't mind bringing everybody forward together, that's hands that can truly be trusted. And those have been some of the hands that God has used to bless us in. So with that economic piece, grabbing the ears of the who's who in financials arena, in status-driven arenas, in those arenas, if you will, that are even in the politics arena, to grab the hearts of those and say, hey, I don't want to compete with you. I want to grow with you. I want to reach with you. I want to heal with you. That's what it's about. We look across everything that's going on in our news, and we see that it seems like only that those who are financially fit are the ones who are surviving. Mm-hmm. So why not equal the odds? If you have more than the next, help, extend, love, build, resuscitate.
That's right.
So that's the one I'm more impactful, most drawn by, is that economic empowerment piece.
I tell you what, for me, I love all of them. I think my favorite, the one that drew me in, was the civic engagement that drew me in. But we were having one of our meetings, and it was something going down with criminal justice, and I had just been so irritated lately about some things that I was seeing, and I had a whole lot to say, and I messed around and got hired right there on the spot. You gotta be careful what you say around Gary. So that's the initiative that I lead. The criminal justice, but I love all of them. The thing I love about Enough, when it comes to how we operate, number one for me, it is a grassroots organization. Mm-hmm. It is so organic. It was started by people, average, ordinary, everyday people who just have a zeal to see positive change. It is free from politics. Let me explain myself, and I'm sure these brothers would understand. Some organizations are so rife with tradition and politics and nepotism and everything else that good ideas can never make it to the top.
That's right.
And good people can never get into positions of leadership because it wouldn't be politically feasible to those in leadership. There's not that type of air at all about enough. Positive ideas, good ideas come to the top immediately. As a matter of fact, when you have a good idea, be ready to see it through,
Yes,
because
indeed.
that's where we are. And I absolutely love that. And even though we have board members, which of course equals leadership, I have never felt like I could not come and speak to one of our leaders to have my ideas heard or my concerns heard. We have this thing where we see each other equally. Does that make sense to you, gentlemen?
Yeah.
And I love it. It is a sense of brotherhood and sisterhood, and not a sense so much of hierarchy. And I absolutely love that. We have done well, in my opinion. There's still much to do. We've done well at taking the many, many gifts and talents of those who are a part of, even those who are not initiative leaders, who are just members. But I think we've done a very good job of taking all of that and allowing people to work in their gifts and in their talents. And I think any organization that has the humility and the good sense to operate like that will most likely have great success. I'm wondering what you guys are thinking about that.
I totally agree. You know, as you said, we're an organization to where we don't micromanage. We're not going to micromanage. You know, if you're leading voter literacy, you know, we have our basic mission statement, and you are free to go and run with that. You know, you are free to go and whoever you need to get in contact with, contact them. Whoever you need to bring in, and bring them in. You know, you're free to go out and work the initiative the way that you feel is best. You know, with some oversight. You know, I don't want to just let you know we have lone rangers, but with some oversight. But you know, we're not restricting you, we're not stopping you, but we're letting people go forth. So, you know, it's a great organization. It's a great, like you said, we're grassroots. We're in the beginning phases. It's a great time to come and join in. We're adding initiatives, you know, as we go along. So it's not like everything is set in stone. We just added 2 more, as you said, with the mind, body, and soul. So, you know, ideas, and that was brought by somebody else. Somebody else from the outside brought that in and said, "Hey, what about this?" So, you know, we are that type of organization to where great ideas reach the top. Great ideas are brought in, and we follow through with them. So, as you said, when you bring that idea, be ready to follow through with it. Be ready to come and work it as well.
You know,
That's right.
it's funny. There's a former boss of mine used to use the old adage, "Open mouth, insert work." To add proof to what you guys are saying, we had our interest meeting, the all hands meeting, just a few days ago. And as a result of that, tonight at 7 p.m., me and the other board members, we are, as you guys know, we're meeting with a gentleman right out of Charlotte who is so passionate about some of the politics and some of the things that needs to be brought to the forefront in the great city of Charlotte. So, you know, make no mistake about it, to our listeners, if there's a great idea that you have and it's an idea that really helps the masses, bring it forward. You got our contact information, bring it forward. We are all about getting ideas, getting ideals that helps the masses, not for selfish reasons, but for equality as a whole. So I'm looking forward to that meeting on tonight.
I look forward to all meetings. We're doing something great. So I'm going to start with you, Ivan, if you don't mind. When it comes to enough in St. Louis, what specifically are you thinking as far as how to get this thing started in St. Louis? What are you going to push there? How are you trying to attract those to let them know who you are and what we're doing?
Well, I'll start with this. One of the things that Enough is doing, that I'm doing here, is I'm also a part of Common Knowledge Ministries, and that ministry we have a food distribution every Wednesday evening from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. at 5324 Virginia. So with that effort, Enough is tagging on with Common Knowledge Ministries to push that initiative. So we're distributing food, and it's called All Children Eat. So it's for kids 18 and under. So that's one of the things Enough will be doing in St. Louis. in the city is helping with the food distribution. So if you're in the area, if you want to come by and learn more, then feel free to stop by Wednesdays, 5324 Virginia, and I'll be able to talk more with you about that. I also want to, especially in this area, is we have a criminal justice initiative, one that you talked about, and that's really needed here in this area. A lot of people are in prison for minor things. They may be in prison for a long time before their trial comes. They may be treated unfairly. So that's something that's in this area that really needs to be addressed. Unfair practices really needs to be addressed. So I'm really looking for someone in this area that has a passion for that can come on board and just help shed light on criminal justice here in the St. Louis area. As well as your favorite one, economic empowerment. That's a big one for me as well. I'm going to read this quote that I have up here, and I'll just let you know how important economic empowerment is. The dollar spends 28 days circulating in the Asian community, 19 days in the Jewish community, 17 days in predominantly WASP communities, and 7 days in Hispanic communities. A dollar circulates for only 6 hours in the Black community. 6 hours in the Black community. So economic empowerment is an important piece, and we definitely need to focus on that because our dollars definitely need to circulate more than 6 hours in our communities. We have $1.3 trillion buying power, and we have to take advantage of that to in order to help ourselves get better and to get to where we need to be. So those are two major factors that I definitely want to focus on here in the St. Louis region.
That is awesome. And even though you talk about St. Louis, we got a person right here in Northern Virginia who says she's interested. So y'all keep on talking. Yes, I want to know the same with you down there in South Carolina, specifically Columbia, the Columbia area where you are. Well, are there specific things that you want to bring there to start? And how are you going about letting people know?
Yes, they are. So amazing that Ivan and I didn't even speak about this prior to this session, if you will. But just on yesterday, I'm working with one of the local leads of a food bank at one of our neighboring churches. We partnered with them throughout the summer on getting boxed goods, fresh fruits and vegetables to families. And we worked that process and that program probably about a good 3 to 4 months during this whole COVID pandemic. And just having the conversation yesterday on how do we get this process and this program and entrench it at our church and just really start reaching more out to the communities. We still see that hunger is an issue. We see that now that a lot of kids are still working remotely. Some families, they look forward to their kids going to school because they don't have adequate sustenance at the house. So food at home is when they're eating. There's times that kids are in school, they'll take a walk during recess to try to hide the fact that they don't have food. Some will come late, if you will, or try to get there early to reach the food time in the cafeteria to be fed. And some kids just may eat, if they're lucky, one time a day. So we have noticed that hunger issue still here in South Carolina. And we're building food programs in order to combat that hunger. So that's one of the major initiatives that we are working. One of the things that I've been involved in for the past 14 years, we've been back in South Carolina going on about 16 years now. And 14 of the 16 years, I've coached some type of youth sports. I'm currently coaching at a local high school, female basketball. And I just believe that as a man, showing a young female how to conduct herself as a young lady, I believe that we catch two birds with one stone. If you show a young lady how to conduct herself, some things to and not to accept, I believe that young man that looks to court her or even to be in her life someday, that she will get him in line, if you will, or set a standard, whereas he won't treat her in any type of way, if you will. We see here in South Carolina, abuse, spousal abuse, relational abuse has been something that has been going on for ages, for decades here in South Carolina. So that's another area that through our youth is how we're looking to bring awareness through enough. So those two areas, mainly in that food program and that next generational area, teaching them and feeding them, empowering them to do more for the future. Those are areas that, my God, that my attention is truly on here in South Carolina.
That is awesome. Eating, man, food insecurities are big. As a matter of fact, we have a question here for the audience. Pam is in this area. Is there any help for families that make too much for government assistance but are having a very hard time making it here in the Northern Virginia area? And Pam, I will answer that question like this. Currently, Enough does not have that type of initiative currently, but we are in contact and we partner with several other organizations. So as a matter of fact, one of them is called SERVE. SERVE. You can look them up on Facebook. That is ran by, I'm going to think of her name in just a minute. I'm horrible with names. Crystal Harmon. Crystal Harmon may even be online with us now. Her name is Crystal Harmon. She serves with SERVE. They do a great job with feeding. And there's some other organizations that I can plug you in with as far as assistance. If you want to hit me up personally, so I wouldn't put all the business out here, that's fine. But Enough Works, we partner with many, many different organizations. You'll be surprised in this area how many people who are plugged into Enough are actually the creators or CEOs or some type of board members of other very prestigious organizations. And so, you know, we take all of that. Like I said, we let people work in their gifts and talents to make Enough better, right? And we are a member of a lot of other stuff too. So there is help. So if you want to reach out to me, we got it. And here's Gary. Look what Gary wrote. He's answering your question, Pam. Gary Holland said, Pam, United Way's Alice program helps that demographic. We can get more info to you so you can share it. So hit us up, Pam. You can hit Gary up. You can hit me up. We got you. I love it. On air live help, right?
That's right. That's right.
That's what we're all about.
Right. I wanted to touch on something that you said. If you're looking at this, we, as he said, we all are doing a lot. We're all doing a lot. We have pastors, we have CEOs, we have board members, we have coaches, we have people that's working 40 plus hours a week. We all are doing a lot, and we know some people may be saying, well, you know, I don't have the time, I can't do this. Well, as I said earlier, if not us helping our future generations, then who? Then who do we have to blame for the current state that they're going into? Who do we have to blame if something else happens? We have to step up during this time. We have to make a commitment and sometimes sacrifices to better ourselves and better our communities. And we have to go out and push, and we have to take action. So don't let that deter you saying, you know, I have a lot to do, I have this, but come and be a part. You know, we have meetings by Zoom. We're practicing all the safe COVID protocols. All the safety protocols, you know, are there. If we're together, when we're in masks, when we're doing our mind, body, and soul exercises, we're safe. So, but you have to push yourself. You have to extend yourself in order to really, truly see change. And I just wanted to say that and to put that into somebody's heart that, yes, I'm able to push and extend myself to get this change that I want to see.
Amen. Thank you for that. Listen, you're so right. This man, I'm kind of lost for words because we do so much, and I want to encourage Pam, and I know there are others who are watching. Listen, if you really want to be a part of positive change, I want you to at very least reach out to us and let us know that you're interested, right?
Yes.
And if you've heard enough to know I want to join, one of us will send you an invite. All of us here have the ability to send you an invite. So if you're in the St. Louis area and you want to reach out, please hit up Brother Ivan Coates. If you're down in South Carolina, I'm even going to say if you're in North Carolina, I think Brother Yancy down there going to be handling the Carolinas until we can expand into North Carolina. If you're in North Carolina, South Carolina, please contact Yancy. And these gentlemen are on Facebook, so you can direct message them to Facebook, okay? What I want to talk about, gentlemen, for a few minutes are the initiatives. And I want to start with that civic engagement and political action. And just I'm going to give my little overview, then I'll start with you, Yancy, to give your 2 cents on it. I love this because what we've done so far here in Stafford, I give you a big deal. In Stafford County, our push for civic engagement has allowed Stafford County to start a coalition that will take care of some of our more sensitive human rights, racial discrimination type issues. And it's going to be an advisory council to the Stafford Board of Supervisors. We were very instrumental in getting that done. When it comes to, we had a huge Confederate flag flying on 95 in Stafford County. We pushed and pushed and pushed. By other means, the flag came down. That most likely would not have happened without our push. We have a saying here to our local officials, and it is not to be braggadocious. It is not to sound crass, but what we tell them is we will either change your mind or we will change your seat. And what we mean by that is, listen, our government is of the people, by the people, and supposedly for the people. We are the people, and we're speaking. And if you're not going to push initiatives and policies and ordinances that are better for the people, then we will absolutely show up at the polls and ask you to leave and put somebody else in place who will do just that. Yes, I want to get your thoughts on that initiative.
When it comes to civil engagement, how many times when we even look at that extent of incarceration, as a kid, how many times have you been blamed for something that you did not do or commit? It's the same thing in our prison system. There's times that we have folks who are incarcerated for crimes they didn't commit. You have some who are in prison for crimes that they have committed. And if there was some measure in their background that were corrected when they were younger, they wouldn't be in the process or in the place that they're in today. So I believe that civic engagement is not just in the areas of politics, as we all know, but it's about that whole prison reform. It's about touching the civility in the lives of so many others. If you can catch a young person now and show them the error of their ways and walk alongside them, hold them hand in hand, you can show them their ways. And I just believe that when we take time to show our children and show our youth, what things are civilly engaging and how to engage at a young age. Carl, Ivan, I recall when we were kids, at the age of 10, 11, my mom had us down on what we call the four corners of law down in Charleston. And we were there as kids with picket signs for a mayor who was in seat for an extended period of time. Did some great things. But that whole picketing and standing up for civil justice and civil rights and all those things, it mattered. Those things then matters to us now. So when we look at civil engagement, don't think of it as it's an old person's deal. It's also a young person's deal as well. And, for those ones who say that I'm just too busy to get involved, no, you should be involved. How many things, how many TV shows, how much time of leisure do we take where we can just carve out a little time from that, 10, 15 minutes, just to make a difference in some social group, some civil group, put our hands to something that has some kind of staying power that will even support our children, our family, our nation, even when our eyes close to this side. I believe that if you're not going to get involved now, the question is when. So Carl, Ivan, I share that sentiment with you. That civic engagement piece is so important. We can't live without it.
Amen. I appreciate it. What do you think, Brother Ivan?
I agree totally. Civic engagement. One thing I think about that is included in that is voter literacy. And we definitely have to understand that at each level of government, the local level, the regionals and nationals. A lot of times for the national elections, the presidency, we're out there in numbers, we're out there in troves, and we vote. But as far as the regional and local election goes, we're silent. We bow down. So, this civic engagement voter literacy initiative is very important because we need to understand that we affect every level of government. Our voice should be heard at every level of government, and we have to let it be heard. And I'll throw this out there for our people that anybody's listening in Georgia. You have a very important election coming up in January next month that you need to be at the polls in. It's not a presidential election, but it's a Senate seat election. You need to be there voting for it. And it's things like that we need to be out there pushing, letting people know, you have to vote for these aldermen. You have to vote for these mayors. You have to vote for the sheriff, the governors. You have to vote at every level of government so that our voice can totally be heard at every level of government. So that's what I say about that initiative.
Thank you, gentlemen. And I'll let everybody know, if you go to the Enough website, excuse me, the Facebook page, we've recorded many of these initiative meetings that we've had. We've had local and state politicians to come in to speak to Enough. Now, I'm not trying to name drop, but I'll be honest. Many of our members are on first name basis with local and state politicians. They know who Enough is, and they have respect for what we're doing because we have done things decently and in order. All right. I want to talk about economic empowerment. And Brother Yancy, I know that you are a bull in a china shop when it comes to that. I'm going to give you the microphone, sir, and let you run.
Look, it all comes down to affordability. What can you afford? But what happens, man, when we put a price tag on peace, a price tag on equality? You know, it's at the place now. It seems like if you don't have a financial status, I don't care what state you're in, you don't get the attention that you sometimes deserve. And I just believe with that economic piece that when there's those who are in those areas, like in our banking system, who can make a difference in the life of a family who are looking for a suitable home, who are even looking for a loan for a vehicle that can be used to get that parent, that adult back and forth to work in order to earn a greater living. There's so many avenues when it comes to this economic empowerment that we can take on and help each other. And we may think that it has to be this huge impact, this big, large, gargantuan event up front to make a difference. But no, it is the small things that matter. If you're in local banks and you know that your bank has the leverage to lend, not because of color, not because of race, not because of gender, just because of a family that needs that upper hand and they can make the difference in their loans, then make the loan. Also, when it comes to fair housing, we know that there's been Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and talking about the fair housing commitment that is being made. When we look at the inventory of foreclosed homes that are on the market, it is quite alarming because we don't have institutions that will lend to families, wholesome families, who can fit and meet the needs of the mortgage requirements. But yet the loans are not being given because of skin color, because of race, because of gender. How much more can we do to help our economy? How much more can we do to help our area by coming to agreement with those financial institutions, by the who's who financially, those who are in these silent roles who are financially fit? I believe that if you invest in somebody who shows the worthiness, who shows the desire to learn to be a part of that economic process, and then you can invest in them and they will duplicate that process in the lives of others. What are we afraid of? Make the investment of people. After all, people, we're the greatest asset that God has on this earth. And if we don't invest in one another, what kind of livelihood, what type of sustainability will we have in the future? Someone has to take a chance on somebody financially in order to make an economic impact.
Amen, Brother Ivan.
Awesome,
What say
awesome.
you?
Man, you want me to come after that?
It's hard, ain't it?
Well, you know, I mentioned the black spin, the dollars earlier in our talk. You know how it's 6 hours. The dollar circulates for 6 hours in the black community, and that definitely has to change. You know, we also have to change and think of generational wealth. You know, we have to think in terms of generational wealth. There's no need that we shouldn't just act on the now. You know, the word of God says that we should be a blessing for our children's children, you know, leave an inheritance for our children's children. So if you're thinking of that, that's generational wealth, that's generational blessings. And that's, to me, that's what economic empowerment is. It's empowering us to be to change the era of, let me say this. This will break it down. This is what somebody told me before. You're either leaving behind bills or you're leaving behind blessings. Let's leave behind blessings and not bills when we die. You know, so that's what economic empowerment is for me.
Amen, brother. Amen. And the next one I want to talk about, and I love that the piece about economic empowerment, when I sat in on that first initiative briefing that we had, man, Gary pulled together some assets that could really speak to some things that I didn't grow up in a household where my father and mother, had a lot of economic education or exposure. I came from a very poor family, and none of us really learned much in that area. I find myself now close to 50, learning more now than I ever did in the years past. So that was a very, very great deal for me to learn. I would say for anybody, any one of us who really wants to learn how to grow wealth, how to invest, economic empowerment, to take a hold of. Listen, there are people in enough who know. You just heard Yancy McPherson. I ain't gonna tell his business, but you might want to listen to him. All right, brothers. The voter literacy initiative. What are we thinking? And I'll start with you, Ivan.
We touched on this. I touched on this one as well. You know, we need to vote on all three levels. You know, local, regional, and national. You know, not just focusing on our next president, but every level: aldermen, city councils, governors, mayors, sheriffs, senators. Every level of government, we need to vote, and we need to be aware. And, you know, Google them, Google their policy, Google their background, Google what they voted on in sessions. See what these candidates are all about, and make an informed decision on who you're voting for. As we said earlier, we're not bound to any political region. You know, we're not telling you who to go out and vote for, but make an informed decision when you do vote, because it's your decision. You know, so we just want voices to be heard, and we understand that voices are heard when we go out and we vote. So definitely go out and vote.
All right, Brother Yancy, what'd you say about the voter literacy, sir?
You know, if I had a half a cent for every time I heard somebody say that my vote is not going to matter or my vote won't count, I tell you what, I'd be wealthy enough to run for office. Or did I say wealthy? It seems that when it comes to those who are in office are those who seem to be the ones who are financially fit. But what happens when you have great ideas, when you become that motivating factor or force of change and making a difference in every community? I can't stress enough how important it is to educate yourself. You have your mind, you have your will. We have the internet. There's no information that we should be void of, because we have the tools to find whatever narrative, whatever information that we need to find. If we want to know where our the best local restaurant is, if we want to know where the nightlife is happening, if we even want to know what state, what city, or what country to go out and visit in our travels, where we have the internet right at our hands. But why not do the same thing when it comes to voting? You have a voice. Your voice has a name. That name has a passion. Let your passion be heard and known by voting. Know who you're voting for. Take the time to call on those local members who are running for office. Make the initiative. Go out to where they're holding rallies. Ask the questions. Let your voice be heard. I believe that when we speak up, we can find representation in which we need to for the people, by the people. But it's those times when we take on the mindset of, oh, my vote doesn't matter, or no one hears my voice, or it is what it's going to be. I'm just going to trust God. I'm going to do this. Yeah, there are things that we trust God for, but God trusts you and I. He's put us here to make a difference. We can't put the blame on God when things don't go right based on us not voting. We can't put the blame on anybody else who don't do the things that we desire if we don't open our mouths. We have to open our mouths. We have to put our hands to the plow. We have to take action. We have to get to the point of saying, when it comes to voting literacy, we've been ignorant for so long. We have to get to the place of saying enough is enough. Educate yourselves. Vote and make a difference.
You're on mute.
Boy, thank you, sir. My father has been saying this since I was a little boy, and I never understood him. He would say, "Black folks, we got to vote for the dog catcher." And my feeble mind, I was like, why do it matter who the dog catcher is? What he was saying is, You got to be involved at that local level. My father called me because he knew I do these interviews, right? And he always in my ear. He said, if these jokers, talking about us folks now, if these jokers ain't voting at the local level, why they even showing up to vote for the president? He said, you talk about criminal justice. Who set the budget for your local police? That ain't got to do with the president, right? And he's right. Yes, there are some federal funds that make it down to that level when they hit certain initiatives. But your city council, your county board of supervisors, those are the ones who vote on your budget for your local police department. Who you put in your state house, your state delegates, your state senators, they got everything. We had a major bill passed here in Virginia that just outlawed chokeholds, all kind of stuff when it came to police reform. It didn't make big news, but our push here in Virginia made that happen because we voted the right people in office, and groups like Enough pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed, and we got change. So you talk about voter literacy and being engaged. Let me say this to you. This year, 2020, was the first time I ever got any type of real education and certification when it comes to voter registration. I'm now certified in Virginia to do voter registration. And in that, I got all kind of voter literacy. You would be surprised to know, for those of you who are on the outside, for those of you who fell in the trap of what our current president was talking about, how unfair the election was, you probably fell into that trap because you don't understand how elections work. There was no way that a winner could be absolutely called on the night of the election unless it was an absolute landslide because of the way our elections work. But if you know that, you are not surprised. Each state runs the election, not the federal government. All right. The federal government has oversight. Each state runs its own election. And then that's divided by each locale, each local county, and each local city. And inside of those, you got precincts. See, you don't know that if you don't know that. But when you know that, you're not surprised at some of the things we see. All right. So we're doing things like that and enough. And like I said, if you go to the Facebook page, you'll see the tremendous work we've already done in that way. And there's some videos for you to see. All right, on to the next, Educating the Next Generation initiative. I love this one because we're dealing with the kids. Enough has already facilitated a few opportunities for our young people to have face-to-face meetings with local law enforcement to express their grievances and give their side to the story, and also hear local law enforcement talk to them. Also, we put them in front of local politicians so they could speak out and be spoken to. This is great because it's all right if our generation is doing it, right? But we got to hand something to these kids, and enough of that to have this as an initiative. So as we're growing and going, we're also passing something to the next generation so they can come take our place and take this thing a little further. I'll start with you, Brother Yancy. What do you think about that initiative?
Well, when we think about next generation education, the thing that I love about that is we're not limited by what it is that we can teach our kids. Unfortunately, there's been some things that has been taught to our next generation that is not so suiting or fitting for a great future. That's where folks like us and Enough have to step forward and be that whisper, if you will, that voice in the ear of our children. I just believe that when you teach your child, the word of God tells us to train up a child in the way that they should go. We're not relieved from this duty. We're not exempt from this duty. We are to train our children. The future that we want to see them experience is the future that we have to teach them how to achieve. But it starts right now. It starts right where they are. I love working with young people. I love coaching young people because it gives me the amazing opportunity, for one, to see where they are. One thing about young kids, they are absolutely honest. They will tell you what's going on in their household. They absolutely will. And as that adult that's in charge, that's with those young people, you don't take that and use it as further abuse. You take that and you help change what's going on in their household by showing them how to respond. So as adults and as leaders, we have a very serious job in teaching and rearing our young people, because believe it or not, what you put in their hands today as leaders and as teachers and as parents will be the very thing that they use to open the door on tomorrow. So if you put a key in their hand today, they'll open the doors up tomorrow. But if you put a lock in their hands today, they're going to lock the doors to access on tomorrow. And whatever you want to do for the future, if you want to give them access or lock them out, it determines and it depends on what you put in their hands today. Give these kids life. Put something in their hand that opens doors, and opens doors not just for them, but for generations to come.
Amen. I appreciate that, brother.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Sir.
Brother Ivan, what you got?
Next question. Make sure I go first so I don't have to go after Lance Yancy again. I would say this. Enough is, we have gone past the old statement to where we say, get out of here, kids. Y'all in grown folks' business. We have to educate our young folks and teach our young folks, and not push them aside and say grown folks are talking, or say go in the other room, we handling business here, because we're in a different age now. Kids, they understand more, they learn more, they have this technology at the palm of their hands at a young age, and they can grasp more of it now than perhaps we did back in the day. And you know, I'm not trying to age myself or anything, but I understand that. So, you know, the next gen education is understanding that principle and saying, yes, teenagers, yes, young adults, here we are. What's your ideas? What's your thoughts? What's your plans? Here's what I've learned throughout our years. Here's what we learned. You know, we want to promote ways to expose them to different things so that they're able to be better socially, economically empowered than we were in our past. So we're bringing them to the table instead of pushing them to the little kids' table. So
that's right.
I'm going to say it like that.
And Sister Jeanette, this is Gary's wife. She said, don't just say, you have to teach. Amen, sister. Right. She is right. Thank God for that. And we're going to that's not final, but next to the last, criminal justice. Now, this is an initiative that I lead for Enough here in Northern Virginia. And we've done a few things so far, much more to do. This was the newest initiative until Mind, Body, and Soul came along. One very interesting thing that we do, and I love that we did this, we got together on 2 occasions with local law enforcement and took some young people through to give them some information on how you conduct yourself when you get stopped. And it also allowed them to engage with law enforcement, because when you talk about criminal justice, you're talking about 3 major parts: law enforcement, courts, jails, and prisons, right? And so this was really the law enforcement part initially. But if we get the law enforcement part right, we can keep them out of court and out of jail, right? So I thought that was great, because there is a lot of tension when it comes to getting stopped by police and having this reflection of complexion. And if it is still a scary situation for mature men like us, what could it be for our children, right? And so we don't want our children caught up in negative situations. And we thank God for the relationships that we have with local law enforcement, that they agreed to do this. And it was very informative. Gave the children some information. And we look forward to doing things with courts as it pertains to mandatory sentencing, when it comes to the legalization of marijuana and those things like that. We have to do something as far as making sure that a prison sentence is not a death sentence. And when our men and women have to be sentenced, that they come back at least on the road to rehabilitation, and not having been put in a situation where they have to fight for their lives, and they're worse off now after doing a sentence. And it makes it very difficult for them to transition back into society. And that's another thing. We need to be into the business of transitioning. Once our brothers and sisters come out of a jail and prison, we have to help them to transition back into society so that we can cut down on the recidivism rate, right? And we have to engage law enforcement with a 2-pronged approach, in my opinion. First of all, we have to form positive relationships and let them know that we are responsible citizens and we want to work with them. But on the other hand, we'll also have to let them know that we will be a very, very aggressive, but legal, but a very, very aggressive presence if our people are mistreated. We will not allow that to go by silently. So that's my take on criminal justice. Bro, Ivan, I'm going to honor your request. I'm going to let you go first.
All right. So I know I said that this was one of the initiatives that I definitely want to focus on here in St. Louis, because we definitely need to identify and eliminate any injustice and unfairness towards minority groups here in this area. Um, to give a brief story, I knew someone that was locked up in a local jail here in St. Louis. Um, he got into a fight in the prison, or something happened in the prison to where he was hospitalized. He was put into a coma. For a while, and in the prison system, they try to throw it under, just throw it under the rug, like, oh, it was just another fight, something happened. You're like, no, this man was put into a coma inside of area where you guys should have been watching him. So, we need accountability there, and God willing, he woke up from the coma. He's doing fine now. But it's things like that that happen that a lot of people don't know about, a lot of people not aware of. And they're just saying, oh, they're getting three cots, 3 meals in a cot. They're good. There's things happening that we need to address. There's injustice and unfairness in our prison systems and in our law enforcement and in the legal areas that we really need to address with criminal justice initiative. And we definitely need to help with that here in the St. Louis region, so that people that are put in prison, they're taken care of, as you said earlier, so that they learn this, so they don't go into prisons. We don't want them there in the first place, but if they are, we want it to be fair, and we want justice to be fair. So, this is definitely an area that I'm passionate about here in the St. Louis region. And if you're listening now and you're passionate as well, please contact me so that we can get this initiative off the ground and run with it.
All right. And we have that St. Louis contact information up right now. So if you're in that St. Louis region, all you have to do is text enough to 703-371-8290. Brother Ivan Coates will get with you and he will be contacting you. Okay. All right. Brother Yancy, what say you when it comes to this initiative?
When I think about the whole prison reform initiative, we have to see the linking points between all initiatives. If we really look at all the initiatives that are set before us, my God, they all link. When you look at this one about this prison system, here's one of the things that still confines my mind, if you will. How is it that when a person goes in and commit a crime that the system calls egregious, they will spend the years, spend the time, spend the dollars, or spend whatever it is that they have to do, be freed by a court system, yet they get out of jail and they still can't vote. They're still cut off. Yet because of that record, they still can't get a job. Yet because of that record, if you can't get a job, how are you going to acquire a loan? So this whole prison system thing, this issue that we face, it replicates across many areas of our lives. It's almost like you're in the Black community, it's almost like you're guilty until you can prove your innocence, and you have limited resources to prove it with.
Sorry.
Let's just be honest. Those public defenders that you have, we know that it's just about a number. It's about saying, I'm here. Yeah, say you're guilty. Take this lesser charge and move on. No. When are we going to take the time? The way to better equip ourselves is educating ourselves, educating young people that when you get in trouble or something happens and you may spend time in jail, what support do you have in jail? It's just not about sending money and putting money on the canteen. Go make a visitation. Stand up, create groups. Say something, create a voice so that even those in prison can get the support and help them. They're still human beings who've made a mistake, regardless of how egregious the act is. They're still human beings. Mm-hmm. I dare not attempt to talk about the death sentence and all that other good stuff. That's not my area, not my arena. I feel some kind of way about that, but I won't share those feelings on this call. But I just believe that there are times that good people make bad decisions, and that bad decision should not be the quote unquote negative mistletoe that hangs over our head that we got to kiss it every time that we go out in life. We have to get an opportunity to recover. It's me. One of the things that I've learned in life, whether those people been in prison or not, whether people make mistakes or not, It's not in the mistake that you made, but it's about how you recover. I believe that this system that we are part of does not allow us the right to properly recover. And until we all, the white, the black, the Asian, Hispanic, Latino, until we all, the Native American, until we all say something about these inequalities, we will always be limited in the rights that we have. We will always be limited in our recovery process. Again, enough has to come to the place of being enough.
Amen. And that's why I joined Enough. After I saw the murder of Mr. Floyd in Minneapolis, I'll be honest with you, brothers. I haven't had that type of anger since before I accepted Christ. And I had to be quiet for a little while. For 8 days in a row, my wife and I just cried together. And I knew it was time for me to just sit down somewhere. We didn't want Bad Carl to come out. But when I heard Enough, and I think that was, just the right word, the right phrase, the right attitude, not only for that time, but for a long time. And it's not just this time. It's been a long time. We've had enough. And we have formed an organization that's going to do something about it. And let me make sure that we pause here for station identification. I want to be very clear. We are not one of these black militant hate groups. We love the Lord. We love our country. And we love our freedom. But because we love our country and love our freedom does not mean that we cannot critique those portions of freedom that we are yet to attain fully. And that's what we do. And we're bold about it. But we are nonviolent. We do not encourage violence of any type. All right. So I want to make sure before somebody start lying on us.
Hey, we also are, for those listening, we are a legal organization. We are a LLC. We're legally documented.
Amen.
We have all the necessary paperwork and procedures and documents in place. So we are legal as well. All
right. We're going to talk about this last initiative real quickly, and we're going to wrap up. Mind, Body, and Soul, which is the absolute newest. There was a young lady named Laura. I don't know if she's so young, but she's young at heart. So she wanted to deal with our physical being, taking better care of our bodies by way of exercise and fellowship. Of course, we're in a COVID posture now. So whenever we gather, there has to be social distancing. There has to be masking. And just so you know that whenever we do gather in our small groups, there's always social distancing and masking. Okay. But so many people are dealing with mental health issues. It's not a popular discussion, but it's one that's needed. And there are some who are isolated. There's some who are hungry. There's some who need to get out and move. And for some, it really is a life and death situation. And so that Mind, Body, and Soul initiative had those things in mind. And so far, every Saturday morning, we meet at a designated place and walk and talk. There was some talk now about, a meeting at the bowling alley, maybe once a week, doing different things that will help bring about a little fellowship and safety, that will bring about some physical activity, and also sharing of ideas as far as eating right. Many of us Afro-Americans were raised on that diet that came from our Southern agriculturally based relatives. And that was good because they worked from sun up to sundown and their bodies could process all of that. But if you eat biscuits and gravy in the morning and then go sit on it and then eat them 4 pork chops with rolls, rice, macaroni and stuffing, and 3 green beans, and then drink a half a gallon of sweet tea and then go to bed, we got problems. We got problems. Brother Alvin, I'm going to ask you to start with that one.
Yes, indeed. Mind, body, and soul. We want healthy minds, healthy bodies, and healthy souls. And a new statement that's here this year, especially during this COVID times, is health is the new wealth. Health is the new wealth. If you're not healthy, then you're not able to spend any wealth. I break it down like that. If you're not able to move around, to get around, if your mind's not right and you can't focus, if your body is too heavy and your soul is just not in a good spot, then it messes everything else up. So health is that new wealth, and we really have to understand that. And that's why this is a great initiative that Enough has. Like we said, we're trying to reach the totality of everyone in every aspect of their lives. So health is that new wealth, and mind, body, and soul is here to help with that in every aspect. So again, in St. Louis, if you're a health nut, come out and join us. I know for me personally, since the beginning of the year, I've lost a lot of weight. I gained some back. I was in a competition, so I had to lose a lot of weight to win the competition, and I did. But my healthy weight, I lost a good 25 pounds. And I'm keeping that off, and I'm proud of that, because like I said earlier, I do want to be healthy in all aspects of my life, so that I can pass on that generational wealth.
Amen. Brother Yancy.
Carl, I remember as kids, we used to see people walking down the street. Most times, these older Black gentlemen walking down the street, and they're talking to themselves and making little notions and all these other antics. And we used to say in South Carolina, someone slipped them a Mickey. For those of you who are not familiar with what a Mickey is some type of drug that's been put into folks' drinks to kind of cause them to lose the continuity of their minds. And we used to say that as kids, someone slipped them a Mickey. But that's not what it was. It was mental health issues that went unaddressed. In our communities that we deal with mental health issues, look at the anguish, look at the pain, look at the pressures that are put on from societal indifferences that we take on by not being able to take care of our families sometimes because the job doesn't pay enough, but yet we're working all the hours and we're physically tired and get home late and have to wake up early to get to the job the next day and don't eat right. And now it puts you in this tailspin of not only you're not getting rest, but you're not eating well. And then you don't have time also to go to the doctors. And now your head is quote unquote not right. And, all these things can compile to really break any human being down. My wife, in the area, my wife has her own practice where she is a mental health counselor, and she spends countless hours of working with different families, working with different individuals. And there's times when she's done that she also has to take care of her mental health as well. So for those who are helping in that mental area, also remember that you have to take care also of your mental health. And how do we do it at times? We go take a walk. Some take a run. Some bicycle. Some get proper rest. Some pull away. Do whatever it is that you have to do to be engaged, but also take that time to disconnect, where you can get your mental peace, your mental stability, and maintain that. Know your boundaries. Know your limits. Know how to control and master your mind. When you're able to do that, no one can say anything that will cause you to feel emotionally, mentally, or even become physically frustrated. Know the full you. When you know the full you, mind, body, spirit, and soul, when you know the full you, nothing outside of you can come to disturb you beyond a measure which you're not willing to go. So when you come to know the oneness of you, then you can help others. I'll leave off with this. When you ride an aircraft or fly on an aircraft, thank God I've had the opportunity to do it many times. The steward or the stewardesses, what they say in that briefing is that in the event of cabin pressure change, in the event of pressure changing in your life, there's going to be an oxygen mask that falls from the cabin above you. Please make sure you place your mask first before helping someone else. That's the way it is in life. How can we say that here in Enough or in any group that we're going to help people when yet we're on fire spiritually, mentally, or emotionally? We're degrading and breaking down. How dare you want to help somebody else when you need help yourself? Help yourself first, and then you can effectively help others. Mind, body, spirit, and soul.
All
Amen.
Right.
Well, audience, we've gone 1 hour and 8 minutes, and we thank you so much for your time and attention. fellas, we've held a pretty good audience, and we've had some questions and some comments, and I think that we have some interest. So listen, once again, if you are in the St. Louis area, please make sure that you text enough to 703-371-8290. That will go to Brother Ivan Coates. He's going to help you out. If you are in the South Carolina or the North Carolina area, please text enough to 803-477-4300. Pastor Yancy is going to help you out. We are excited. We really are. Not just about the work today, but we're excited about the work to come. We're building something. And my friend Cece, she says, loved it. See, I'm so glad that you loved it. It was our job and our desire to inform. Many people don't know about enough, but we want to spread it. And we are hoping the best things for enough in South Carolina and North Carolina, and also out in the greater St. Louis area. Because, Brother Coates, I got a feeling that you're going to have to cross that river. I got a feeling.
I ain't scared of East St. Louis. I ain't scared. I ain't scared of the East Side.
I am.
Call some of my fraternity brothers to go with me.
That's right. That's right. Don't go by yourself, bro. Don't go by yourself. All right, audience. Thank you so much. We pray that the information that we've given you today has been helpful to you. If you're in a local area here in Northern Virginia, please make sure that you reach out to us by way of our Facebook page. You can hit me up personally or Gary Holland. We have information for you. And just so you know, coming soon, I don't know how soon, but coming soon, Enough is going to be reaching out into the Tidewater area, the Newport News, Hampton, Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Chesapeake, Portsmouth area, down there in the well-known 757. We're coming, baby. Just hold on. So if you have interest, please let me know. So on behalf of Pastor Yancy McPherson, Elder Ivan Coates, respectively, the Carolinas and the greater St. Louis area, we say have a blessed day. Yes. May God bless you, and may heaven smile upon you. Until next time. Bye-bye.
Have a good